Hey there, everyone. Wake up. It's Wednesday. What's that you're saying? I'm doing it again. I'm rushing things a bit because it's supposed to be Coffee Shop Thursday when I'm drinking coffee. Hey, no, it's Wake Up Wednesday. It's Wake Up, you Corinthians. That's what we're going to see this Sunday in our epistle lesson. 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, the first 11 verses. Yeah, Paul is telling them, wake up, people. Why are you fighting over spiritual gifts? Things that God gives you out of his abundance, out of his goodness, his graciousness, and you're fighting about it. You're saying this one's better than that one. This person's better than that person. Come off of it. We're going to look at that in just a minute because you wonder, why are we talking this on this particular Sunday that's coming up when the gospel lesson is all about the wedding at Cana, where Jesus changes water into wine? That's a happy thing. That's a great thing. And why are we talking about fights over spiritual gifts? Well, it's because the theme that we're having running through all the lessons is God's goodness, God's graciousness in what he gives us. Whether that be looking in the Old Testament lesson where God is telling the people through the prophet Isaiah, hey, I am going to marry you. I will become your husband. We will once again find happiness and joy together, especially after having been in exile in Babylon. And of course, the wedding at Cana with all the wine, but it was more than just lots of wine. Jesus didn't give us the wine so that we could all go out and get drunk. That wasn't the purpose. It was to show that there's going to be a lot of joy and happiness in this new thing happening in Jesus. This is one of the signs, and we'll get to that on Friday. And here, it's the same deal with the spiritual gifts. See, evidently, the Apostle Paul had established this church on a second missionary journey and had gone off now to visit some other churches, and word got back to him through a letter written by the people that things weren't going too well in the church. There was a lot of infighting over a lot of different things. And you see when you read 1 Corinthians, Paul time and time again is saying, now concerning this, now concerning that. And what you're doing is you're listening in on a conversation between Paul and the Corinthians, and they're going through all these different problems one by one by one. And here we are in chapter 12 talking about spiritual gifts. And Paul is saying, look, it's not about you, it's about God. It's about what God gives to you to use for, let's look down to verse 7 here. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. God just didn't give it to you because, oh, you're pretty cool and I like you best, so I'm going to give you this spiritual gift, and I'm going to give this person that one. It's not quite as important. No, they're all important. It doesn't matter what it is. And now here he goes on to name a couple different gifts, whether it's utterance of the knowledge according to the same Spirit, faith, healing, working of miracles, prophecy, discernment of spirits. You know what the very last one is? The one that they're fighting over the most. Tongues. Speaking in kind of like a foreign language. Well, not really, because nobody knows this language. Nobody can interpret it. In fact, Paul goes on to even say, if nobody can interpret it, why use it? Keep it to yourself. It's all because the people got this idea that, I might be a little more important than you in this church, so you go ahead and do your thing, but I know what I have to offer so much better. No, what you have to offer is what God gave you to offer. And it's not for you to lift yourself up. It's for the lifting up and the edification of the entire community for the common good. That's why this is such a powerful message for us to have for this coming Sunday, because the whole season of Epiphany is about Jesus being made manifest to the world, his ministry, and what he came to do, and what he means for us, all becoming real, becoming known to us. And as that happens, we come together as a community of faith, a community of believers, and we are to lift one another up and grow closer to one another. In those times, whenever we have our differences, seek out reconciliation with one another. Great, great, awesome passage. Read it, 1 Corinthians 12, 1 through 11. And you know what comes right after this chapter? The love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, where Paul really puts it into perspective when he says, you can have all those gifts in the world and they're worth nothing if you don't have one thing: love. So wake up, Corinthians. Realize these gifts are a gift of love from God. And it's love that needs to fill your life in order for these gifts to be any good at all. These gifts that are given for the common good. Well, God's blessings be with you, and continue your reading. Sometimes sit down and read all of 1 Corinthians. It's a tough one to get through in some places, but it's so good and still so relevant for us as God's people today. God's blessings be with you.